السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him, we thank Him. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah yasta'inuhu wa astaghfiruh wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا بين يدي الساعة من يطع الله ورسوله فقد رشد ومن يعصهما فإنه لا يضر إلا نفسه ولا يضر الله شيئا. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him and we thank Him for giving us yet another Friday to be able to worship Him, to be able to collectively in our own homes be able to remember Him, to be able to enjoy all the blessings of security and peace. Alhamdulillah, that most of us are, alhamdulillah, enjoying over the past few weeks of the pandemic lockdown. While there's so many, there are millions around the world, including our brothers and sisters, Rohingya brothers and sisters in the camps in Bangladesh, and of course the horrific conditions of the concentration camps in which Uyghur Muslims are suffering for the past several years, as well as of course people in the lockdown of Kashmir, as well as the coronavirus jihad campaign against the Muslims in India and Sri Lanka, as well as of course people in war-torn countries. There's so many people who simply do not even make a distinction between post or pre-coronavirus pandemic. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them all relief and assistance and have special mercy on their souls. Brothers and sisters, this Ramadan is a Ramadan of change. There's no doubt about it. This is a Ramadan of, every Ramadan is a Ramadan of change or month of change. But this Ramadan is going to be different, not bad, not necessarily incomplete, but different. It is going to be something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to test us with in a different way, the way that we have never been tested before. So, we know that our hearts are heavy, that our eyes are, overflowing with tears, and many of us are in state of denial. Our souls are yearning to be in the masjid. The idea that how can you have a Ramadan without a masjid is going to be a very challenging emotional experience this Ramadan. But it also offers an opportunity for a different type of priority and focus when it comes to changing, working on change in this Ramadan. It is going to be a lot more personal this time. It's going to be a lot more family time this time, and hence the opportunity to work on ourselves, inshallah, to bring about some positive changes in our lives. Brothers and sisters, we know that Ramadan every year brings about some amazing changes in our lives. Some that we are ready for, some we may not be ready for. So drastic changes in our schedules, drastic changes in our sleeping schedules and habits, drastic changes at times in our eating habits, for instance. There's a lot that happens after Ramadan. Lack of caffeine for some of us is a challenge. So all of that, those physical changes are still going to be there, except that this year, what will also change is that you don't necessarily have that physical community and the physical masjid to turn to. And that is going to be an interesting challenge for our community and for us as individuals. But let us remember that our Ramadan is not going to be incomplete just because we don't have Tarawih in the masjid. That our Ramadan is not going to be just because our doors of the masjid are closed to public. Doesn't mean that the doors of Allah's mercy are closed this Ramadan. Let us remember that just because the masjids are closed this Ramadan doesn't mean that the blessings of Ramadan are closed upon us. If anything else, it is a different type of opportunity for change that should really affect us in positive ways when it comes to our own spiritual and character development, inshallah. And Ramadan, it already is an opportunity. It's a boot camp really for spiritual development and change. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we know, from many ahadith, based on many ahadith, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chained the shaitan, so you have less distractions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a reward for every obligatory, every voluntary nafil act that you do, equivalent of an obligatory act in terms of reward. Allah gives us 70 times more reward for an obligatory action in the month of Ramadan. So these are all excuses that Allah is giving you to really, really fix ourselves and change our lifestyle in ways that you probably have never done before. And let us not forget the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as the Prophet mentioned in Bukhari and Muslim, "Man sama Ramadana imanan wa ihtisaban ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbi." That whosoever fasts in the month of Ramadan with firm yaqeen and iman in Allah, and with expectation of reward from Allah, God, from the Almighty, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to do what? Is going to forgive our sins that are that are coming up. So subhanallah, that whatever sins we have sent forth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to forgive them, as long as of course they are minor sins. So the question is, what is it that you're going to and I'm going to change this Ramadan? And this is what I want to talk about. That is not only what is it that you're going to change. This is going to be your job to figure out what you want to change this year. But the bigger question is how, and which is what I want to spend a few minutes today, inshallah, talking about. Because we're talking about not a temporary 30-day change. We're not talking about some physical changes in your lifestyle and schedules. Of course, all of that is important, and all of that helps us become a better person. But we're talking about change in terms of our spirituality, and in terms of our personality, in terms of our connection with Allah, in terms of our connection with family and community around us. And that is supposed to be a long-term permanent change. As scholars say, that the Lord of Ramadan is the same, is the same Lord throughout the year. And in fact, they say that what you and I should be focused on is really our what we should be thinking about is that we should be asking ourselves, are we servants of the Lord who is Ar-Rahman, or are you servants of Lord who of Ramadan, of Ramadan, the month of Ramadan? So that really the answer is interesting, and it's something for us to think about. The question is interesting for us to think about. So what I wanted to share in the next few minutes is really then what it is that you and I can do, inshallah, to bring about some concrete changes in this month. So, subhanallah, all of us can identify at least one or two things that you and I can work on this month. What are those items? The laundry list of things that you and I could work on. Well, it's up to you to decide, but it could be anything from an issue of anger or anger management, or it could be obsession with food or eating too much, or maybe consuming junk food or unhealthy food, or obsession with sleeping too much, for instance. Or it could be laziness, especially laziness in taking care of your health and your body. Laziness in terms of helping others in the community. Laziness when it comes to, and procrastination when it comes to offering your 5-time salah or Fajr prayer to begin to specifically, for instance, in the morning. Or it could be something to do with your tongue. Maybe your habit of taunting others, your habit of swearing or using foul language, or listening to things that are complete waste of time, if not problematic and questionable, something perhaps borderline haram or haram itself. or something that is harmful to your soul and to your body and to your intellect. You know, watching and listening to things that are not healthy for your own lifestyle. And it could be anything. It could be something to do with your disconnect with Allah, disconnect with the Quran, disconnect with remembrance of Allah, or lack of interest in volunteering in the community, lack of interest in giving back to the community. So whatever it is that you think that you want to identify, ideally, think of one or two things in your own personal development, personal life. It could be something to do with spirituality, it could be something to do with your career that you want to fix or you want to work on. Another area that you want to focus on is an area that may be related to your family. And maybe you want to spend more time, quality time with family. Maybe you want to cook more at home, whatever it is. And third category or area is really something to the community. So think along those lines and pick one or two things this Ramadan and make a commitment that you are going to, inshallah, work on those bad habits and inshallah turn them and transform them into good habits. So that after 30 days of boot camp of Ramadan, you come out as a new you, and better you, inshallah, after you transform your bad habits, one or two of those at least, into something really powerful and something good. You know, people who, psychologists, specifically those who study positive psychology, they have done tons of studies on behavior management, on behavioral studies, and they talk about how and they give advice on ways that you and I can actually change our lifestyle and our behaviors positively. And these are some of the things that I want to actually talk about. And subhanAllah, as you listen to this, you'll see that there's so many parallels to the concept of tawbah. That is what it is really we're talking about. Ramadan is a month of istighfar. Ramadan is a month of tawbah, which is turning back to Allah, and in positive ways, in ways that you have probably not done before. And Allah is giving a perfect opportunity with the least amount of distractions. Not only is shaitan locked up, but in fact, lots of other physical distractions from outside of your home are also now limited because you're no longer going outside. So you have a lot more mental energy and focus. Even though, yes, your home may be chaos, especially in the month of Ramadan, if you happen to have a lot of kids at home, if you have, of course, family at home, it's not going to be easy, but you still have a lot more opportunities this Ramadan than you ever did perhaps before. So I wanted to share a few things based on some of the studies that have been done also on people who are successful and who have successfully changed their bad habits into something good. So number one is when you start focusing and you start making commitment to changing one or two those actions that you want to transform into something better and good in this month. Number one is to acknowledge and identify your bad habit, one or two bad habits. Unless you identify in yourself that this is something I need to change, nothing will change. Nobody in the world, your parents, your siblings, your kids, your wife, your husband, your teachers, your sheikhs, your imams, your leaders, your political leaders, whosoever out there that may have an influence over you and really change you until you decide and I decide that, you know what, it's time for me to take that first step. And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give me barakah in ways that I have never imagined. Allah will give me strength in ways that I have never imagined. And so that is the first step, to simply identify, because that's part of what Allah talks about as the purpose of Ramadan, and that is to achieve taqwa. Taqwa is God consciousness, and part of that process of achieving taqwa is to identify what are some of the things that I need to change because God is watching. That's what God consciousness is about. So that's number one, identifying your bad habit. Number two, focus on one or two of those habits and work on those over the period of 30 days. Not just a couple of days of Ramadan, 30 days. 30 days of boot camp. This is what Ramadan is all about. And it's interesting that there have been several studies that show the time that is needed to start a new habit or to give up a bad habit. Start a good new habit and to give up a bad old habit. Many initial studies showed 30 days, subhanAllah, same time as Ramadan. Others show actually a bit longer period of time. But bottom line is that this is a perfect time and opportunity that Allah has given you to get started. And hopefully transform your bad habit into something new and something, a better alternative, inshallah. So focus on it for 30 days, no matter what it takes. Keep doing it, keep focusing on it. Number 3 is to realize that the change is within you. Change is within I. This old saying that you can't teach an old dog new tricks doesn't apply. Actually, it doesn't apply as believers. We know that there have been people who have changed their lives drastically and dramatically at the age of 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s when they became Muslims. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ said, those who were good, خيركم fil jahiliyyah, khayrukum fil Islam. The ones who were good people, good-hearted people in the times of ignorance were also the good people in the times of Islam. Meaning that when they accepted the faith and when they decided to change, they changed their habits without questioning and without hesitation. Yes, it was not easy for many of them. And till this day, we see this process. When you decide to change, it's within you, and Allah gives tawfiq at the end. But you start that process. You ask Allah. You take the first step. You do tawakkul, as we talked about. You remain consistent, as we have talked about in the last few weeks. So this idea that, so this is why it's important, because remember that the Prophet ﷺ, he says, مَنْ لَمْ يَدْعَ قَوْلَ الزُّورِ وَالْعَمَلِ بِهِ فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةً فِي أَنْ يَدْعَ طَعَامُهُ وَشَرَابُهُ. That the Prophet ﷺ says that a person who does not give up foul language and foul actions and bad actions in this month, basically in the month of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no need for his going hungry and thirsty, for his fasting and for giving up food and drink. Allah is not in need of it. It's you and I who are in need of it. So change begins with you and I. So that's number 3. Number 4 is, once you have made that intention, then let's plan for it. What is that action plan? What is it that I'm going to do to help me stay away from some bad habits, whether it's eating junk food or using foul language or doing something else that may not be appropriate, something that is bad for my health, something that is bad for the community, and so on. Whatever it is, anything that is harmful for my soul, for my body, for my relationships, for my spirituality, for my finances, whatever it may be. What is it that you're going to do that is going to, inshallah, keep you on track? Because, once again, as I've talked about in the past, if it is not on paper, or if you have not developed a plan of action and you are not getting help and resources that you need to put it into practice, believe me, it ain't happening this Ramadan. It won't happen. And this is why it is said that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You have already decided that you are not going to really make a significant difference. So continuing with few more points in terms of our plan of action to change this month of Ramadan, that remember to not just focus on your bad habit this Ramadan, but actually also focus at the same time in parallel, what is one thing that I'm going to replace it with, because that's critical. That's based on psychology, that's based on research, but that's not only that, that's not only it. That's based on our faith and our principles of tawbah, principles of of da'wah even. The Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, idfa' billati hiya ahsan. He says that repel evil with something good. You can't just simply repel evil, but you have to also replace it with something good, because there are always going to be lost needs and which needs to be replaced. And if you don't replace them, then you're going to always have a void, and you always would want to go back and relapse and go back to those bad habits. So this is why it's important for us to actually do that, find ways to actually replace those. And this is where we have seen success rates being much higher. Those who are able to actually replace a bad habit with a good one. So let's say if you have a bad habit of munching on junk food all the time, well, you can replace it. Instead of completely stopping it full turkey, going all out and completely stopping it, you can actually replace it with some better, healthier items at home. It could be fruits, it could be nuts, it could be something else, maybe even sweet or sweeter, but not as unhealthy, for instance. So this is just an example for us to think about. Or healthier alternatives in any aspect of life, you can actually choose and inshallah run with it. That's going to be very helpful. Number 6 is alter your environment. You cannot be sitting in the same environment, same place, keep doing the same things, have the same friends, have the same toxic environment surrounding you, and then you complain, well, it's not working. This is one thing that you do need to do something radically about. That if you're surrounded by negative people who are pushing you, whether through peer pressure or otherwise, pushing you in a direction that is not healthy. If you are surrounded by even sometimes family members who are doing things that are not healthy, then you need to decide where you're going to draw the line. And it's not just about people, it's also your environment, your home, what it looks like, what you have. It's also about your virtual environment, what kind of stuff you're doing, what kind of stuff you're watching, who you're following, who you're not following, what you're liking, what you're watching, what you're streaming, what you're posting. All of that is part of your environment. So you need to make some radical changes to your environment. That is one thing you do need to work on right away. Otherwise, it may be too late, and in fact, it may defeat the purpose. So whatever it takes that you need to do and as part of planning, so that you keep that in mind, is to alter your environment. Number 6 is to exercise physically and spiritually. And Ramadan gives you ample opportunity really for both. I understand it's limited, type of physical exercise in Ramadan, at least while you're fasting. But there are great examples of exercises, physical exercise you can still do, and of course during fasting, and of course after fasting later at night. There are enough opportunities for both. And why am I saying this? Once again, based on studies, those who exercise physically build a stronger willpower to fight the bad habits. Subhanallah. And for instance, there was a study that was shown of smokers, people who were trying to quit smoking, and among them, those who actually had physical exercise built into their lifestyle, who were exercising on a daily basis, there were 80% of them had a success rate, meaning 80% of them were able to give up smoking, versus others who had a much slower rate who were not exercising. So this is just an example. There have been other studies that show this very similar results. And same thing goes for spiritual exercise. Every time you're resisting something that you shouldn't be doing in the month of Ramadan. In fact, even the things that you are doing, even some mechanically now, when you start fasting, meaning you're not drinking anymore during the day, you're not eating anymore during the daytime for good 12 to 14 hours, you're controlling your eyes, hopefully, inshallah, you're controlling your urge to do things that either otherwise that are halal in a family or setting or otherwise. You're stopping yourself from a lot of that. That's right there is a spiritual exercise that builds your willpower. So the more and more you do that, and the more you take it to the next level by increasing your dhikr, increasing the amount of Quran you're reading every day, by helping out, with cooking in the family, or helping out some neighbors in the community while keeping social distancing in mind this Ramadan, of course. All of those things, whatever it is, or giving sadaqah on regular basis online, virtually, or any other way. As long as you keep doing that, you will see you're going to build that stamina and willpower, inshallah, to be a stronger you this Ramadan. Number 8 is to think yourself differently. And this is a trick, a mental trick that you should keep playing all the time. And that is, you should tell yourself, you know what? This Ramadan, I'm a different person. Keep telling yourself, it doesn't behoove me. It doesn't, it's not something that I should be doing. And I don't even deserve to be part of something like this. I should not be even thinking about something like this because I'm a different person today. I don't belong here. I don't just fall for anything. I'm a person of principles. So whatever it is, once again, that you have chosen as a bad habit that you need to work on, inshallah, keep telling yourself on a daily basis that you're a new person. You're a different person this Ramadan, inshallah, and beyond. Number 9 is to reward success. We are very bad at rewarding ourselves at times when it comes to successes you were trying to achieve. So whether it's success in getting rid of a bad habit, or success in actually promoting in promoting a good behavior in your body, in your lifestyle, you'll see a major difference when you start rewarding yourself. So it could be anything small on a daily basis. It could be, it could be something. It could be something related to food. It could be something related to, enjoying something, entertainment, or having a good time with the family. Think of something, some ways of celebrating it in a small way, not overdoing it. So even if you're rewarding yourself with something, maybe a junk food that you, typically wouldn't want to eat, or sorry, you wouldn't eat because it's not healthy, but this can apply sometimes to rewards because it's very limited. It's something very specific, and you look forward to it. And it's okay. That's why it's okay sometimes to offer kids candies and other things, even though that's not a norm we want to promote. It's not a healthy lifestyle. But for the sake of reward, for the sake of reinforcing good habits, is actually something that is often recommended, that we actually focus on things that people look forward to, otherwise they wouldn't use. Now, a few more things that I want to, inshallah, go over very quickly. That includes limiting or scheduling your bad habits. So if you're still struggling, especially in the beginning, it's not going to be easy to just go all out and all of a sudden dump your bad habits. If it was that simple, majority of us would not have any bad habits. So yes, it requires time. And subhanAllah, this was the approach we saw, even especially during the time in the Meccan period of the Prophet ﷺ, that people who are struggling with bad habits, whether it's alcohol or other things, Quran took time to gradually get them wean off of those bad habits. Of course, things now things are different in some ways, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we all recognize that everybody has things that they need to work on. Everybody has weaknesses, and it will take time for people to work on it, whether it's skipping salah, being lazy about prayers, whether it's foul language, whatever it is. Think about ways that you can actually, inshallah, schedule them or limit them, that in ways that you have that will mentally give you this indication that, what, and after a while you will say, what, I'm not dependent on this. I'm no longer addicted to this. I can survive without it because I'm only doing this for a few minutes, or a couple hours, or I only do it at this time or this day, part of the day, or I do this only when I go XYZ place like this or like that, or XYZ. What that does is it tells you that you have the power to change. You have the power to actually move on. You have the power to actually really making a difference. And another thing that is related, which actually I already mentioned earlier, is while we were talking about replacing a bad habit with a good one. Interesting studies have also shown that when you give people alternatives to work on. So for instance, when you have, there was actually a study that was done, interestingly, people who had a compulsive bad habit of biting their nails. And this is actually done by a corporation, who have people who have had some bad habit, for instance, of compulsive biting their nails. They were given, for instance, an alternative, which was that they were given something in their hands to hold. They were given a device to hold. And that was something that was good enough for them to actually wean off and move on. So again, idea replacing bad habit with something good, and also limiting your bad habits to certain times, to certain spaces. And number 11 is to make an announcement. I'm not saying go all out on Facebook, on social media, or WhatsApp and tell the world that I'm working on this bad habit or sin to replace. But if you think it's not something problematic, you can do that. Ideally, you shouldn't be announcing to the whole world. But you wanna have people who trust you, people who are sincere to you, people who are going to actually support you. It could be your parents, it could be your family members, it could be somebody in the community whom you trust, or one of your good friends, and basically help them, share with them so that they can help you stay on track in the month of Ramadan and beyond. They can hold you accountable, inshallah. Number 12 is to have a resolve to continue doing things no matter what happens never ever give up. Never ever give up. Even if it's, you're this close to, you're extremely tempted, you're this close to trying it out again, or I'll just do one more time. Try not to go back to it. It's one thing that you're still weak and you're working on weaning off, but it's another that if you have already gone far and you're trying to work, trying to move away, and then you relapse, right? So let us make sure that you make a resolve that you're not going to, inshallah, going to go back to it over and over again. And even if you were to, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always merciful, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looking for your tawbah. Tawbah is a process, not just a one-time thing. So even if you relapse, remember that Allah's doors of mercy and Ramadan's doors of blessings are still open, and Allah is still waiting for you to come back. So even if you relapse, it's okay, you go back, but try your best not to go back to it. Make whatever arrangements to ensure you don't keep going back to it. And the last thing is, as they say again, a mental trick and that is but yourself. What is but yourself meaning? Well, every time you are tempted to, go back to going back to a bad habit, or every time you don't want to implement a new good habit, say to yourself, but strategy helps you mentally to move away from, just like saying to yourself that I'm a new person today. I'm a new person this Ramadan. So, but yourself, meaning say to yourself, no way, I cannot be doing this, but I'm a right person. I am working on this, but this is my responsibility, but I cannot let myself down. I cannot let my family down. I cannot let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala down. Whatever excuse associated with but works for you, please make sure you keep doing that. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make you and I be among those who are constantly working to transform ourselves and our lives this Ramadan. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this Ramadan easy for all of us and on our hearts and our emotions, especially because your doors, Allah's doors of the masjid have been closed to us today. And we've been deprived of tarawih and public iftars and itikaf in the masjid this year. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us go back to His house very, very soon. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us accomplish a transformative Ramadan experience of change and of family bonding, of taqwa, of tawakkul in our families, in our lives this year in Ramadan. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ease the affairs of those brothers and sisters who are already suffering, who have nothing to look forward to perhaps in the month of Ramadan this year. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help those people in our communities, in our countries, who are in Canada and the US and around the world, all our friends who are going through a very difficult time because of coronavirus pandemic, whether it's due to the lockdown itself or because of them being, of course, afflicted with the coronavirus disease. We ask Allah to heal every single one of them. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our brothers and sisters who have passed away, especially due to the coronavirus pandemic. We ask Allah to accept them among shuhada. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our sins and allow us to witness the entire month of Ramadan. Ameen. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do not deprive us of the blessings of Ramadan, because your doors of mercy are open, your doors of maghfirah are still open. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy on our families and those who are struggling to take care of their loved ones, to those who are struggling to take care of seniors at home, children at home, people with special needs at home. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help everybody who's going through a difficult time right now. Allahumma ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. Allahumma sahhil lana sirat al-mustaqim. Ya nasir al-mustad'afin wa madhlumin. Unsur ikhwanana wa akhawatina wa atfalana wa du'afa'ana wa shababana fi kulli makan wa zaman. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء من الأموات الأحياء منهم الأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات. اللهم اشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين. اللهم ارحم موتانا وموتى المسلمين. اللهم عاف مبتلانا ومبتلى المسلمين. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا. يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. يا مصرف القلوب صرف قلوبنا على طاعتك. اللهم بلغنا رمضان، اللهم بلغنا قيام، اللهم بلغنا قيام الليل. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم، وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خيرا. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Taha, for this wonderful khutbah. That was, inshallah, beneficial to all of us. So just before we continue, just in case anyone has questions, because this is not a traditional khutbah, this is not a Jummah, you are allowed to ask questions if you want. So there's a Q&A section. Brother Taha, I think there is one question right now, if you want to take a look at that.
Sure. Great. Jazakumullah khairan. So somebody has asked this question, and we get asked this question quite a bit, that can you go over how to perform Jummah khutbah at home? So what is let's put it this way. Jummah khutbah is not required, and it is something that scholars in general do not recommend that you do at home, and there are few reasons for it. However, those who want to, of course, do it, they're more than welcome, maybe for their own practice as a community, as a family. That's up to you. Of course, you ask a scholar in the community, and they'll be able to, give better advice. What is recommended is by scholars today is that you listen to a khutbah, an alternate programming of sort, a reminder, just like this one or others, every Friday. And after that's done, whenever the time zone, whatever, depending on time zone you're in, whenever time for dhuhr kicks in, you pray 4 rakat of dhuhr with your family at home, if you have a family, or by yourself. So that's all I would say at this point, because again, the requirements for khutbah depend also, depending on which opinion you follow, depend also on the number of people you have in one place, and so on. So that's why it's not typically recommended. So the question, so we are making every house a masjid, it is a blessing. So somebody made that comment. Well, that is true. In fact, there's an article that I wrote on soundvision.com. It has been published. In fact, I'll see if I can post this after towards the end. It's on soundvision.com, and it's called How to Bring Masjid to Your Home this Ramadan. And it gives, basically, it talks about 10 things that you can do to, inshallah, bring masjid to your home and to establish tarawih and prayer and adhan and a few other things. What are some of the things you and I can do, inshallah, to make it a spiritually uplifting experience, despite the fact that physically, of course, we are deprived this year of the masjid experience this year. There's a question, do we have a YouTube link? YouTube link will be available in a couple of days, or probably in a day or two, on Sound Vision YouTube page. So you can actually look for it on two places. One, you can go to YouTube, youtube.com, and just search for Sound Vision Foundation, and go to the Sound Vision Foundation YouTube channel. And this is where we actually post our khutbahs, and you can see previous khutbahs by Imam Mujahid, Dr. Ahmed Murad, and myself that are actually listed there. You can also go to soundvision.com/webinars. I believe Sister Aiden has already posted that. This is where you'll also find the old khutbahs linked as well. And thank you very much for all the du'as and the kind words that those of you who have shared with us. Jazakumullah khairan. If there are any other questions, please ask. Okay, so there is question, will there be a tarawih offered through Sound Vision? We are not going to be offering tarawih. I know there are going to be lots of masajid that I know of, at least in North America, who are going to be broadcasting it live from their masjid. So quite a few of those you can watch. However, Sound Vision will be offering, and you will hear about it, inshallah, by next week, most likely. Most likely, we are going to be launching an alternate programming in the month of Ramadan for the community. And during Taraweeh time itself, there is going to be some good mix of Quran recitation and reminders that we are going to be, inshallah, offering every night in the month of Ramadan. Once it's finalized, we are going to be sharing that with you, and you'll hear about it, of course, on soundvision.com as well. And yes, somebody has shared that article. Thank you very much. Jazakumullah khairan. Good question. Is adhan from any device sufficient at home? Very good. Actually, I don't know if I mentioned that in the article, but I was going to actually say that it would be nice to have, because one of the piece of advice I shared there is that pretend that it is an adhan that you're giving in the real masjid. And again, it's part of that mental exercise. And that's going to be good for you, your kids, if you have at home, who for their own practice, inshallah, and give everybody a role in this process of giving adhan. And yes, if you can if you can get a nice mic system or speaker system, of course, without blasting, people's heads off, especially your neighbors, it'll be great. It'll be beautiful. It'll be a beautiful experience if you can actually do that, to have a good, speaker system of sorts. So yeah, any device you can try. And of course, you can also stream the adhan or play adhan on YouTube or on through other platforms if you want to just also listen to adhan, maybe live or recorded online somewhere as well. That's another option you can try, inshallah, as an alternative.
Jazakallah khairan. Before we close off, I just want to give a couple of reminders for our upcoming webinars. We have our next one this Sunday, April 19th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time by Imam Khalid Latif, who is the chaplain of the New York University and executive director of the Islamic Center at NYU. And the topic will be Ramadan at home, how to experience a spiritually and socially productive Ramadan. And then our next webinar after that is next Wednesday, April 22nd at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And that is by Mamoun Hassan, who is a professional with years of experience under his belt on how organizations can go digital and maximize their benefits by telling their story. The topic will be going digital in a lockdown world for community organizations, masjids, and imams. So I've sent a link in the chat box for those who are interested, you can register there. And another announcement is that we have the Adam's World app. So if you guys have children at home, please download this app. It has great programming for your children with full-length episodes, and inshallah of great Islamic educational benefit. And one last thing is obviously we would like for you all to continue supporting Sound Vision, and one way you can do that is through your generous donations. I know many of you guys are probably supporters, so inshallah that would be of great benefit. And that's about it for now. So to close off, thank you again so much, Brother Taha, for this virtual khutbah. Listen to Al-Asr, inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.
Thank you, Sister Aiden. I really appreciate you moderating, and thank you, everybody. Inshallah, see you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.